for those who for those who we haven't kind of met, I'm Balint, one of the artists in the show, and I've agreed to do a little kind of just a talk about my work, and I'm going to try and keep it quite informal. So if there's any questions that you want to ask either about my work or about Andor's work, because I know his work quite a bit, but I'll try and answer some questions about the show and about my work. So I'll just go through some images and hopefully some videos of some past work, and try and organise it in a way in which it would all kind of tie together and make sense. But I mean, I'm kind of don't like the phrase. I often kind of get called kinetic sculptor, and I think that kind of confuses a lot of people. It's kind of kinetic, so what's kinetic? And so I try and refer to it as a kind of time-based sculpture. So kind of using time, the fourth dimension as an element that supports the object, the three dimension, and often kind of painters looking at kind of history, painters are given the two dimension, but they're obviously very much preoccupied with representing the third dimension, so with chiaroscuro and this whole idea of bringing the canvas out into 3D, and then looking at kind of the sculptural kind of history. Sculptors have the third dimension to play with, but they're often preoccupied and interested in the dimension that isn't quite there, which is the movement. So you have kind of a lot of even archaic sculpture, and kind of even the sculpture, Egyptian kind of sculpture as well. There is kind of element of trying to kind of bring these objects to life, and I'm kind of questioning what if movement was available to as an object to play with, and then what else can that kind of lead to? What would happen then? And so basically, I kind of began to work on. I think this is a video. Does it work?
It's working. Yeah, you did.
The sound isn't working here though, but it doesn't matter. I'll just play it off here. It's fine.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah.
I mean, this is just a little compilation of different works in an exhibition in Spitalfields at Connecticut. So mark making was quite a important element that I employed in my works, and I realised by making a device which makes a mark, you're kind of recording time, and over time this contraption and this piece can accumulate these marks, which are kind of the embodiment of that installation or that artwork having been exhibited or been there for a particular event or a particular length of time. So so these kind of kind of led to a series of drawing machines, which yeah. So the other group of works was kind of, which stemmed from drawing machines, was kind of using light to draw with. So it was just a kind of leading on to working and drawing with light, and then there were some kind of optical experiments, which was less of a kind of making a mark, but more the ephemeral quality of light. So it's very kind of momentary drawings, but they still kind of stem from the same work. So the drawing machine started with the simple kind of gravity-based pendulums, and this is an installation, well, kind of this first drawing machine which I've done, which basically bolts onto a wall, and there's two pendulums that the viewer or I swing or push, and then the mechanism would leave a trace, and over time it kind of covers a whole area. This led to kind of more mechanical, well, the idea of the spirograph, using the epicyclic kind of repeated patterns, and once you repeat something over and over again, there are other kind of forms that start kind of revealing themselves that initially weren't there, or they were there but you didn't know them, and it's kind of this idea of yeah, kind of repetition, but because of the flaws in kind of the mechanics and the machine, there are kind of accidental things that happen which become kind of features of the work. These are all kind of pictures of a series of works called Polycycle. It explores, as well as this repetitive nature. I think there's a video of this one. This is on this is on a gallery wall window. So what's happening here is there's two pairs of drawing arms, and the whole installation is broken into a series of opposites. So there is a blank or a clear glass sheet, and next to it there's one that's been covered in white. So one half of the machine is scraping off, the other half is putting on, and the other pair is kind of doing that but in reverse. and there's also kind of the inside and outside being the drawing happening on a sheet of glass. You have a difference between inside and outside and where the light is coming from. So it's almost like having the positive and negatives of a photograph, and if you put them together you wouldn't have anything, but by separating them you have kind of different pieces. So if you put all the elements of this installation together you wouldn't have anything, but because if they're all being separated it's kind of, they're all related to each other, but in a way they kind of cancel each other out. This is another drawing machine, which I don't know whether the video is in here, but I can show you. This is an installation which uses also pendulums, but a slightly more complicated way of perpetually kind of drawing on an endless surface, which is a sphere, and it uses the gravitational pull of the Earth that we are kind of standing on to make patterns over the length of a show, and that could be 2 months, 2 weeks, 2 days. So essentially the people who encounter the work are always subjected to a process rather than kind of a finished thing. They're probably would never see the finished kind of drawing because it's always in kind of flux.